Once again, welcome to this course. Today, we are going to talk about the first topic, which is concepts of farming systems and livelihoods. The main aim of this topic is to provide you students with an understanding of the course by introducing important concepts that relate to farming systems and livelihood analysis. Some of these terms include farming systems, livelihood and livelihood analysis, farming for livelihood assets and opportunities, as well as the relationships between farming system and livelihood. So in the process of learning this course, you need to familiarize yourself with some of the important terms that will be discussed. So as a matter of introduction, the household, its resources, and how the resource flows in and out of the household, and the interaction of these resources at individual farm level are referred to as a farm system. The biophysical, socioeconomic, and human elements of a farm are interdependent. Students think of a peer system and relate it to a farm. Yes, it's the same principle of a peer system that can be applied to the farm. Therefore, farms are analyzed as systems from various points of view. Regardless of their size, individual farm systems are organized to produce food and to meet other household needs through the management of available resources, whether owned, rented, or jointly managed within the existing social, economic, and institutional environment. They often consist of a range of interdependent gathering, production, and post-harvest processing, so that besides focusing on cropping and livestock production, household livelihoods can encompass fishing, agroforestry, and hunting, as well as gathering activities. So the interrelationships between various components of a small farm, the variety of natural resources available on the farm, as well as farming households, form a typical farm system. In terms of the resources, we are now talking of different types of land, water sources, and access of the household to common proper resources. For example, we are talking of ponds, grazing areas for livestock in the community, as well as access to forests. In addition to that, we are talking of climate and biodiversity, human, social, and financial capital. All these form the diversity which characterizes the livelihoods of most smallholder farmers. Now take some time and describe the term farming system and livelihood. There are several definitions of a farming system. Others define it as an appropriate mix of farm enterprises and the means available to the farmers to raise them for profitability, where it interacts more with the environment without dislocating the ecological and socioeconomic balance on one hand, and attempt to meet the national goal on the other hand. It aims at helping in lifting the economy of agriculture and standard of living of the farmers and the country as a whole. Farming system is also regarded as a resource management strategy to achieve economic and sustained agricultural production to meet diverse requirements of farm livelihood while preserving resource base and maintaining a high level of environment quality. Here, we are now talking of the issues of sustainability. A farm system is a mix of enterprises on the farm. For example, we are talking of crops, livestock, aquaculture, agroforestry, and horticulture, to which farming households allocate its resources in order to efficiently utilize the existing enterprises for increasing the productivity and profitability of the farm, and efficiently manage the existing environment for the attainment of the family goal. It does not represent a mere combination of enterprises, but an appropriate combination of farm enterprises. For example, cropping systems, horticulture, livestock, fishery, forestry, poultry, and the means available to the farmer to raise them for profitability. A farming system is also defined as a decision-making unit comprising the farm household, cropping and livestock system that transform land, capital, and labor into useful products that can be consumed or sold. A farming system is not just about mixing enterprises and activities, no. It differs from mixed farming. It is about different enterprises and resources available to the household and how these resources are managed by a particular household for profitability. There is also an issue of sustainability, meaning to say meeting the household needs of today without undermining the needs of tomorrow. So the objective for mixed farming is mainly for subsistence and welfare of mankind. A farmer mostly does not mind the land or resources allocated to the enterprises, as production is basically for food. While in farming system, the objective is mainly on high profitability and ecological balance. Here it's like we are now taking farming as a business, as well as considering the issues of sustainability. In mixed farming, the emphasis is on gross output. It is just about what is produced by the household on the farm. For example, a farmer can produce 3 bags of maize and 2 bags of pigeon peas, and it's okay to him. Whereas in farming system, the emphasis is on the system itself. It is about the interrelationship of the components and the products produced on the farm. Essentially, there are 3 principles of farming system. Firstly, a farming system is cyclic. Here, we are looking at how resources revolve around the farm components or enterprises, meaning to say, looking at how organic residues can be used and how livestock products can go back into the land in the form of manure. For example, crop residues can be fed to livestock, and livestock products like dung can go back to the land in the form of manure where crops are grown, and the cycle goes on. You can see that management decisions related to one component on the farm may affect the others. So the household need to make appropriate decisions on how to manage the enterprises. Secondly, the farming system is rational. Using crop residues more rationally is an important route out of poverty, as farming system does much on rationality. For resource-poor farmers, the correct management of crop residues together with an optimal allocation of scarce resources leads to sustainable production. Here, it is the law of the household to make rational decisions in terms of resource allocation on the farm so as to have the best output of the resources. The last principle is ecologically sustainable. Combining ecological sustainability and economic viability, the integrated livestock farming system maintains and improves agricultural productivity while also reducing negative environmental impacts. Here, there is a need to balance the issues of profitability and the impacts on the environment. A farm is a system. in that it has three important things such as inputs, processes, and outputs. These things differ from the type of farming system being used. For example, the amount and type of inputs in urban farming cannot be the same with that of commercial farming. Income through arable farming alone is not enough for bulk of the marginal farmers. Therefore, farmers need to diversify with other activities like dairying, poultry, and fisheries. These activities assume critical importance in supplementing their farm income. So, inputs are what goes into the farm. For example, we have the natural or physical inputs of which a farmer has little or no control over this. Here we are talking of weather, climate, soil, and latitude. We have also human inputs like the workers, subsidies, machines, government influence, as well as advice and training. Processes means the actual work carried out on the farm. For example, we are talking of planting, planting maize, weeding, spraying chemicals or fertilizers, harvesting, feeding livestock, milking, as well as dipping. Outputs are what the farm produces. Outputs are what the farm produces. For example, grains, eggs from chickens, milk, meat, as well as money. So after describing the farming system, let me now describe a livelihood. Okay, let's assume someone is asking you this question. What is a livelihood? A few would struggle to answer. Some of you would say making a living, supporting a family, or it's my job. Yes, all describe a livelihood. The term livelihood is well recognized as humans essentially develop and implement strategies to ensure survival. For example, let's assume that you are hungry. You don't have food, but still you need to survive. Here you think of ways of getting food for your own survival. Otherwise, you can die of hunger. So a livelihood comprises the capabilities, assets, that is both material and social resources, and the activities required to a means of living. A livelihood should be sustainable, and as a matter of fact, it is sustainable when it can cope with and recover from stress and shocks and maintain or enhance its capabilities and assets both now and in future, while not undermining the natural resource base. Livelihood analysis is the ability of a social unit to enhance its assets and capabilities in the face of shocks and stresses over time. It seeks to identify the important assets in livelihood that trends over time and space, as well as the nature and impacts of shocks and stresses upon these assets. Then interventions are designed to address any vulnerabilities to enhance livelihoods by diversification of income streams. It is a practical framework for evidence-based interventions and has much logic resting behind. So, having understood the meanings of the word farming system and livelihoods, take time to reflect and explain the relationship between the two in practice. Now, let's look at the livelihood assets and opportunities. There are different assets or resources that create an opportunity for a livelihood. Different types of people also embark on different activities for a living. As already explained, Livelihood is a means of living or means of earning a living. In agriculture context, livelihoods are the sum of ways in which people make a living. So in most communities in the low-income countries like here in Malawi, poor families balance a set of food and income generating activities whereby poor means having little money with which to buy one's basic needs like food, clothes, and shelter. There are many types of livelihoods that farmers embark on. Some of them include livestock keeping, crop production, agropastoralism, fishing, as well as hunter-gatherers. So, for us to determine the livestock of people in a particular area, we look at several things called indicators. Basically, at household or community level, there are different indicators of livelihoods. The indicators actually tell us the livelihood of the people in that household or area, and these indicators may include but not limited to environmental like climate, natural vegetation, water sources, rainfall in terms of the amount, distribution, and intensity. Rainfall basically assists people to grow crops suitable to the amount of rainfall that the area receives. We are also talking of livestock species. We have markets. Here, people usually grow crops depending on the type of market available. We are talking of livestock, people's welfare in the area, household consumption, drought intervention, that is if there are food for work and cash for work activities in the area, and if at all there is relief food distributed to the food. We are also talking of migration, conflicts, stock movements, as well as nutrition and health. Livelihood assets are used as the model to understand the complexity of interaction at family sustainable agriculture at household level to maintain a steady income and expenditure. These livelihood assets are the strengths that people have and the capital endowments that can be converted into positive outcomes. There is no single category of assets on its own that is sufficient to yield all valid livestock outcomes that people seek. This is most true for poor people who have no access to any given category of access, or it is limited if available. So the poor people have to seek different ways of nurturing and combining whatever assets they have, yes, in an innovative way in order to survive. These livelihood assets include human capital, social, physical, financial, as well as natural capital. Now take your time and describe each of the 5 assets in detail. I'll start by describing the human capital. Human capital represents the skills that people have, the knowledge, ability to labor, and good health that together enable people to pursue different livelihood strategies and achieve their livelihood objectives. At household level, human capital is a factor of the amount and quality of labor available. This varies according to household size, skill levels, leadership potential, as well as the health status. Human capital appears in the generic framework as a livelihood asset that is a means of achieving livelihood outcomes. Basically, it is an intrinsic value and required in order to make use of any of the four other types of assets. Meaning to say, the other four types of assets like the natural, economic, physical, and social depend on human capital. It is therefore necessary for the achievement of positive livelihood outcomes. So to build the human capital for the poor to achieve their livelihood goal, there are both direct and indirect means. In either case, people themselves should be willing and able to invest in their own human capital by attending training sessions organized or going to school. If they are prevented from doing so by some structures and processes like formal policies or social norms that prevent, for example, girls from attending schools, then indirect support human capital development would be necessary. So an integrated approach to human capital development is required, drawing on information gathered through livelihood analysis to ensure that effort is focused where it is most needed. For example, on disadvantaged groups. Information required to analyze human capital in the community include human health, life expectancy, nutrition levels, education based on gender, and local knowledge. Social capital are the resources upon which people draw in pursuit of their livelihood objectives. These are developed through networks and connectedness, either vertical, that is patron or client, or horizontal, meaning to say between individuals with shared interests. These increase people's trust and ability to work together and expand their access to wider institutions such as political or civic bodies. They are also developed through membership of more formalized groups, which often entails adherence to mutually agreed or commonly accepted rules, norms, and sanctions, as well as through the relationships of trust, reciprocity, and exchanges that facilitate cooperation, reduce transaction costs, and provide the basis for informal safety nets among the poor people in the community. So, of all the five livelihood building blocks, social capital is intimately connected to transforming structures and processes. Structures and processes are themselves products of social capital. The relationship goes two ways and can be self-reinforcing. For example, when people are already linked through common norms and sanctions, they will likely form new organizations to pursue their interests. Strong civil society groups, on the other hand, help people to shape policies and ensure that their interests are reflected in legislation. Therefore, social capital has a direct impact upon other types of capital. By improving the efficiency of economic relations, social capital helps increase people's incomes and rates of saving, which is the financial capital. Social capital also helps to reduce the free rider problems associated with public goods, meaning to say it can be effective in improving the management of common resources. In this case, we are talking of the natural capital and the maintenance of shared infrastructure. In this case, we are talking of the physical capital. Social networks facilitate innovation, the development of knowledge, and sharing of that knowledge. Therefore, there is a close relationship between social and human capital. Social capital, like other types of capital, can be valued as a good in itself. It can make a particularly important contribution to people's sense of well-being through identity, honor, and belonging. Social capital is always positive, but can be used in negative as well as positive ways. Those who are excluded from strong groups that convey multiple benefits may be disadvantaged in a variety of other ways. For example, landless women with or without skills. Social capital will also have its own intrinsic value to the poor. It acts as a resource of last resort for the poor and the vulnerable people. This is because it can provide a buffer that helps them to cope with shocks such as death in the family, act as an informal safety net to ensure survival during periods of intense insecurity. For example, if there is food crisis in a community, and because of the interaction and connectedness, some households may benefit from their fellow community members through sharing of food and other necessities. Social capital compensate for lack of other types of capital. For example, shared labor groups compensating for limited human capital within the household. Let's now talk of the natural capital. Natural capital is the term used for the natural resource stocks from which resource flows and services useful for livelihoods are derived. Natural capital is very important to those who derive all or part of their livelihoods from resource-based activities like farming, fishing, gathering in forests, as well as mineral extraction. The availability of these resources can help people in the community to engage in activities that may enhance their livelihood ability. For example, the availability of water resources in the community can assist people to engage in irrigation farming as a livelihood activity. Examples of natural capital and services deriving from it include land, forests, water, air quality, erosion protection, waste assimilation, protection, biodiversity decree, and rate of change. For all this, it is important to consider access and quality and how both are changing. Valuation of natural capital determine which groups of the community have access to which types of natural resources. What is the nature of access rights? Is it private ownership, rental, common ownership, highly contested access? How secure are they? Can they be defended against encroachment? Is there evidence of significant conflict over resources? How productive is the resource? Here we are talking of issues of soil fertility, structure, and value of different tree species. How has this been changing over time? For example, variation in use. Is there existing knowledge that can help increase the productivity of resources? Is there much spatial variation in the quality of the resource? How is the resource affected by externalities? For example, the productive potential of different parts of watersheds is affected by the activities of other users and the way in which resource systems operate. The value of fisheries also depends upon the number of other users who have access and the choices they make about their catches. Biodiversity is often damaged by intensive agriculture. How versatile is the resource? Can it be used for multiple purposes? Let's continue by looking at the physical capital. Physical capital comprises the basic infrastructure and producer goods needed to support livelihoods. Infrastructure consists of changes to the physical environment that help people to meet their basic needs and to be more productive. So producer goods are the tools and equipment that people use to function more productively. The following components of infrastructure are usually essential for sustainable livelihoods, and these are affordable transport, secure shelter and buildings, adequate water supply and sanitation, clean, affordable energy, and access to information. Infrastructure is commonly a public good that is used without direct payment. Exceptions include shelter, which is often privately owned, and some other infrastructure that is accessed for a fee related to usage. For example, we are talking of toll roads and energy supplies. Producer goods may be more on an individual group basis or accessed through rental or fee-for-service markets, the latter being common with more sophisticated equipment. The livelihood approach therefore focuses on helping to provide access to appropriate infrastructure that enables poor people to achieve their livelihood objectives. Infrastructure such as roads, rails, and telecommunications are key to the integration of the remote areas where many of the poor live. Infrastructures provide good movement for people in case of good roads, and people are also more likely to be better informed about opportunities in areas to which they are thinking of migrating. Development of physical capital must be led by demand from the intended users for maintenance purposes and sustainability purposes. So to analyze the physical capital, participatory approaches are essential to establish user priorities and needs. Financial capital denotes the financial resources that people use to achieve their livelihood objectives. In other words, it is the availability of cash or equivalent that enables people to adopt different livelihood strategies. There are two main sources of financial capital. The first one is the available stock. This is preferred because they do not have liabilities attached and usually do not entail reliance on others. Can be cash, bank deposits, or liquid assets such as livestock and jewelry. The second source of financial capital is the regular inflows of money. The most common types of inflows are pensions or other transfers from the state and remittances. So in order to make a positive contribution to financial capital, these inflows must be reliable so that people can plan on investments. Financial capital is probably the most versatile of the five categories of assets. It can be used for direct achievement of livelihood outcomes, for example, when food is purchased or to reduce food insecurity. It can also be transformed into political influence. Financial capital can free people up for more active participation in organizations that formulate policy and legislation and govern access to resources. However, it is also the asset that tends to be the least available to the poor. You can imagine how difficult it is for someone to get money. Yes, it's not easy at all. So consider the poor person. Indeed, it is because the poor lack financial capital that other types of capital are so important to them. Thank you for listening.